Right after a painful 8-hour shift, my wife said, "My boss thinks I deserve better." She thought I'd cry. Instead, I handed her an envelope and said, "Funny. So does my lawyer." Her hands shook as she opened it. "My boss thinks I deserve better." That's what my wife said to me the second I walked in the door. I still had my steel-toe boots on. My back was damp with sweat from the forklift seat, and my hands were trembling, not from emotion, but from lifting 40-pound crates for 8 hours straight on no lunch. I had just survived another shift at the warehouse, and this was the welcome I got? Her tone wasn't even apologetic. It was smug, like she was delivering some divine revelation, something she'd rehearsed 100 times in front of a mirror, or maybe someone else's face. "My name's Jason. I'm 32, and for the last 6 years, I've been married to Amanda. If you had met her back then, you'd understand why I fell hard." She had this charm, not loud, not fake, just soft enough to make you feel like you were the only one in the room. She had a marketing job, was always reading, and swore she'd never be the type to depend on a man. That was important to her. Independence. Fast forward to last year. Amanda left her job, said the corporate world was killing her spirit. I didn't argue. Burnout is real. But what started as taking a couple months to reset turned into almost a full year of unemployment. She tried a few online courses, then decided she wanted to become a branding consultant. I covered the bills. All of them. Rent, groceries, car payments. Even her Adobe subscription for some design classes she never finished. I picked up extra shifts. I worked weekends. I told myself it was temporary. Now imagine this. I finally dragged myself through the door at 9:30 p.m. on a Thursday, and Amanda's waiting for me in the kitchen. Makeup on. Hairstyled. Wearing a top I hadn't seen before. Deep red. Fitted. Not something she'd wear for a night on the couch. She wasn't holding a drink. She was holding a line she'd been dying to drop. "My boss thinks I deserve better." She said it like it was a gift. Like she expected me to drop the takeout bag in my hand and go to pieces. Maybe yell. Maybe cry. Definitely beg. But I didn't. I looked at her. Just looked. There's a weird thing that happens when you see something coming for a long time, but you're still shocked when it arrives. Like standing in the street watching a train from far away and still flinching when it passes inches from your face. Because I had seen it coming. The signs had been there. I just didn't want to believe what they meant. The late-night text she'd answer in the bathroom. The sudden obsession with networking events that always happened during dinner. The way she'd sigh when I talked about work, not with boredom, but disgust. She used to love that I worked with my hands, that I smelled like sawdust and sweat. She used to say it reminded her of real men. But lately, it felt like she flinched when I kissed her cheek. I held her gaze. Then slowly, I reached into my backpack and pulled out an envelope. Thick. Yellow. The kind that means business. I dropped it on the table between us. She didn't move. "Funny," I said, "so does my lawyer." And that was the first time her face cracked. Just a little. Just enough. She reached for the envelope, fingers stiff like they were bracing for a taser instead of paper. She pulled it open, and her face dropped when she saw what was inside. No yelling. No throwing plates. Just silence, so heavy it felt like someone had cut the oxygen in the room. Inside the envelope was everything. A drafted separation agreement. Bank statements with flagged transactions. Hotel receipts. And a single USB stick in a clear plastic bag. Amanda's hand trembled. She looked up at me, lips parting like she wanted to say something. Anything, but couldn't find the words. And honestly, I didn't need her to. I'd already heard enough. This wasn't about some spontaneous emotional affair or office flirting gone too far. This had been building for months. Her boss? Yeah, I knew all about him. Andrew Calloway. Divorced. VP of Sales. Drives a Tesla and quotes Gary V. He'd been mentoring Amanda, apparently. She once joked that he called her his diamond in the rough. Well, I'd seen the rough. And the receipts. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That night, I left her standing in the kitchen. I walked past her, past the perfume I didn't recognize, the shoes I never saw her buy, and went straight to the guest room. Locked the door. Sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the wall for hours. Not because I was heartbroken, but because I was calculating my next move. And believe me, I had one. You'd be surprised what you can learn from a phone bill. A couple months before that night, I noticed something off. We'd always shared a phone plan, partly to save money, mostly because it made sense. I never really thought about it. But one evening, I was going through our budget spreadsheet and saw that our bill had jumped. Not by a lot, just enough to make me curious. So I logged into our account. At first, it was boring, same numbers, same data usage. But then I scrolled down and saw one number that kept popping up. Late at night, during the day, sometimes 5, 6 times in a row. I Googled it. Didn't get a name, but I did get a location, downtown, right next to Amanda's new co-working space. That was red flag number 1. Red flag number 2 was the call at 11:47 p.m., the same night Amanda had claimed she went out with her old roommate, Stacy. Stacy, who later told me, without knowing the context, that she had the flu that whole week. That's when I decided to stop playing dumb. I asked Amanda casually one night, while we were brushing our teeth, "Hey, weird question. Do you know a number that ends in 0923? She didn't even blink, just shrugged and said, "Probably some client," then spat out her toothpaste and walked off like she'd passed a pop quiz. She didn't ask why I was asking. She didn't even pretend to care. That's when I knew. I called in a favor from my buddy Leo. He's one of those rare IT guys who actually likes this stuff. Like, give him a coffee and a hackathon kind of guy. I asked him if there was any way to recover Amanda's deleted messages. He asked, "How mad are you willing to make her?" I told him, "Let's find out." Amanda had been syncing her iCloud to our shared laptop for years. She'd just never turned off the backups. Leo found a cache of data buried in a system folder I would have never touched in my life. I felt sick watching him dig through it like a digital coroner, until he pulled up a series of backups with timestamps. Then came the photos. Screenshots of text threads. Selfies Amanda had sent. Nothing explicit, just her in outfits I'd never seen before. Pictures taken from hotel mirrors, labeled with captions like, "Too much for dinner with the boss." And worse, voicemails. One in particular I'll never forget. A deep voice saying, "If he's still paying for everything, don't rock the boat. Just coast it a little longer. I'll take care of you once the timing's right." That was him. Andrew Calloway. The same guy Amanda had once described as just some older exec who talks too much. Turns out, he wasn't just talking. They weren't even being discreet anymore. Leo showed me calendar invites Amanda had accepted, reservations at places I couldn't afford even on overtime. Reservations made from her email, billed to my card. Spa days, wine tastings, couples massages. The one that really gutted me? A charge at a boutique hotel we'd stayed at for our 3rd anniversary, exact same room. She booked it for a branding seminar. The timeline hit me like a punch. While I was pulling back-to-backs at the warehouse, skipping lunch so she could have space to grow, she was laying in luxury sheets with a man who told her she deserved better. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted to. I imagined it 100 different ways. Walking into the room mid-call, slamming the laptop shut in front of her, even calling Andrew directly and letting him know I was watching. But I didn't. Because the more I saw, the more I realized how far this had gone, and how little I actually knew about the person I was married to. The woman who once cried at a wedding commercial now laughed at voice notes about hiding hotel receipts. And me? I had become background noise. A live-in paycheck with no boundaries and a predictable routine. The perfect situation for someone looking to quietly disappear without ever having to leave. But that was about to change. Because I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to prepare. And when the time came, she wouldn't even see it coming. Leo's last find sealed it. He traced a forwarded confirmation email from Amanda's inbox. A hotel reservation, one of those quiet boutique places in the arts district, tucked between overpriced wine bars and yoga studios. The kind of place you go when you want to disappear for a night, or pretend you're someone else entirely. The name on the booking was Andrew Calloway, but the confirmation had been sent to Amanda's Gmail. And the room? Paid in full with our joint credit card. There was no way she expected me to notice it. It was buried under a list of automatic payments and utilities. Just another self-care expense in a sea of them. But I did notice. The reservation was for a Thursday night. Her calendar said networking mixer. She kissed me on the cheek that morning like everything was normal and said, "Don't wait up. I might grab drinks after." I said sure. That was the only word I said all day. I left work early, told my manager I had food poisoning and couldn't hold a mop steady. He didn't ask questions, just nodded and told me to rest. I didn't rest. I drove home, packed a camera, a long lens I hadn't used since college, and checked into a cheap motel across the street from the Wyndham. I sat behind a dirty window for 4 hours, watched the street, drank bad vending machine coffee, scanned faces, watched couples walk in and out of the lobby, laughing, pulling luggage, kissing. I told myself it might be nothing. Maybe they were meeting clients. Maybe there'd be a group. But then I saw her. 8:16 p.m. Amanda walked up in heels I'd never seen before, wearing a black coat with fur trim. She looked confident, relaxed, beautiful, even like she was stepping into a life she thought she deserved. Andrew showed up 6 minutes later. Button-down shirt. No tie. No ring. They kissed just outside the door. Not quick. Not friendly. I didn't take a photo right away. I just stared, like my body forgot how to move. Then I raised the camera. Clicked. She looked up once, and for a second, I thought she saw me. But she didn't. She laughed, grabbed Andrew's hand, and followed him inside. That laugh. I'd heard it 100 times. Thought it was mine. I didn't follow them. I didn't bang on the room door. I didn't shout in the hallway like some bad soap opera. Instead, I waited an hour. Then I walked into the lobby and asked the front desk manager if I could get a receipt reprinted, told her I'd lost mine, and my wife was already upstairs. The woman didn't even blink. She pulled it up instantly. Room 408. One queen bed. One night stay. Paid in full. Name, Andrew Calloway. Guest, Amanda Sanders. She handed me the paper with a polite smile. I walked back to my motel, placed the receipt next to the hotel photos, and slid everything into a manila folder. Then I called my lawyer. I'd consulted him a week before, just to feel things out. Told him I was hypothetically concerned about a spouse draining shared funds during an affair. He'd given me a checklist. Proof. Dates. Financials. Witnesses, if possible. Leverage. That night, I emailed him everything. Then I made a list of every expense Amanda had charged to our joint account in the last 6 months. Spa packages. Work lunches. New clothes. That ridiculous $600 mentorship seminar she claimed was mandatory. I highlighted everything she never cleared with me. Thousands of dollars, casually spent while I brought home grocery store rotisserie chicken and packed PB and JS for lunch. I itemized every single charge. And then I did something petty, maybe cruel. I booked a table at the same rooftop restaurant where Amanda and I had celebrated her first job offer 5 years ago. Reserved it for 2, under her name. I knew she'd be getting the email. I didn't care if she showed. I just wanted her to think, even for a second, that she was being watched. She didn't speak right away. The moment I dropped that envelope on the kitchen table, same table we'd eaten at 1,000 times, Amanda's face tightened like she'd bitten into something sour. She glanced at it once, then back at me, like she didn't know whether to laugh or call 911. She tried to play it casual. What is this? I didn't say a word, just nodded at it. She peeled back the flap and started flipping through the papers. First came the spreadsheet, color-coded, labeled with each date and charge. Flights, room service, clothing stores, Uber rides that picked her up 2 blocks from Andrew's condo. I watched her eyes dart from number to number. Next came the photos. I'd printed 3, nothing scandalous, but enough. One outside the window, one in the lobby, and one still framed from the backup folder Leo recovered. Amanda in a mirror selfie, captioned, "Too much for dinner?" Her hand was on her hip. She looked proud. Then she saw the USB. That's when she panicked. What is this? Now her voice had an edge. Fear. I tilted my head. Everything else you didn't delete. Texts. Calendar invites. One particularly helpful voice memo where Andrew says, "Write it out a little longer." She froze. It was like watching someone try to piece together a broken story in real time, grasping at excuses that wouldn't stick. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I stepped past her, reached into the fridge, and pulled out a bottle of water. Drank it slowly. Let the silence stretch. Jason, it's not what you think. I held up a hand. I think you've been having an affair with your boss. I think you've been funding it with our money. I think you've been lying to my face for the better part of a year. That about cover it. She backed up a step. I was confused. Things with us haven't been the same. Right? I said. Because I was working 60-hour weeks while you were busy branding your personal healing era. Must have been exhausting. Her voice cracked. He understands me. You've been paying your bills, I finished. That's what I've been doing. She blinked like I slapped her. The worst part? I wasn't even angry anymore. Not really. Just tired. Hollow. But that wasn't the end of it. Because Amanda still thought she had time. She didn't know what else I'd done. I sat down across from her. Calm. Collected. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I sent that USB to your HR department this morning, I said. She went still. And to Andrew's wife, I added. The real one. Not the one he told you he was about to leave. Her name's Katie. She responded, by the way. Said she wasn't surprised. Amanda looked like she might throw up. I could practically see her mind scrambling. Job, reputation, rent, bank account. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then tried again. We can talk about this, Jason. I stood up. You're going to get a notice from my attorney. Read it carefully. It's not just divorce paperwork. It's a reimbursement claim. Everything you charge to the joint account, you'll see the totals. You can't just. I can. I did. She started to cry. Not loudly. Not real. Just the kind of controlled, shaky sob that people use when they want to pull you back in. I didn't flinch. You threw us away, I said. I'm just finishing the cleanup. Then I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't leave some dramatic final word. I just left. Her with her envelope. Me with my piece. Amanda didn't call me that night. She texted twice. Both unread. I slept better than I had in months. By noon the next day, the fallout had begun. First came a call from a number I didn't recognize. I didn't answer. Then came an email from Amanda's company. Not to me directly, but to my lawyer, which meant the HR department had done exactly what I hoped they would. They opened a USB. Amanda had never mentioned it, but apparently, she signed a company policy form when she got hired, one that forbade personal relationships with direct supervisors without written disclosure. Guess who didn't fill that out? Andrew was her direct reporting manager. She never disclosed it. Boom. Instant grounds for termination. But it didn't stop there. Turns out, Andrew wasn't as single as Amanda thought. His wife, Katie, had forwarded the email chain and evidence folder to Andrew's board of directors. Every photo, every receipt, every voice memo. The fallout didn't just hit Amanda. It hit Andrew's position. His upcoming promotion vanished overnight. I didn't hear the details, but based on a LinkedIn update a week later, he was suddenly exploring new opportunities. Amanda? Let's just say she had time to text me again. This time, there were 10 messages. Then 20. Missed calls. Then a voicemail. Jason, please call me back. I made a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just got lost. I was scared we were stuck, and I didn't know how to say it. Please. We can work through this. We can fix this. Funny thing is, I didn't even feel satisfaction. I just felt done. Not in that cliché, movie-ending way where I slammed the door and ride off into the sunset. I was just quiet. Finished. No part of me wanted to hear more. I sent one text. Just one. The locks have been changed. Please check your email for a copy of the formal separation notice. Any personal belongings can be picked up next Thursday at noon. My brother will be there. I won't. That was it. No threats. No explanations. Just information. Amanda didn't respond for 4 days. Then came another message, longer this time. I lost my job. Andrew won't talk to me. He blocked me. I'm staying at my sister's. I didn't know it would go like this. Can we please talk? I didn't reply. She chose a fantasy, and I let her live in it, just without me. I froze our joint account, transferred my paychecks to a separate bank, filed a fraud report on the spa and hotel charges. My lawyer advised we start building a claim for reimbursement. It wouldn't be fast, but it would land. She could cry to her sister. She could scream at Andrew's voicemail. She could stare at the HR email and wonder how it all collapsed so fast. Me? I got a call from Katie, Andrew's now ex. She asked if I wanted to meet for coffee sometime. Said, I have stories you wouldn't believe. And screenshots. I laughed. Genuinely laughed. Not because I needed more evidence, but because it finally felt over. Amanda used to say I was too passive. Turns out, that was my greatest weapon. It's been 3 months. Amanda still hasn't stopped texting. Not every day, not like before, but every now and then. When something breaks, when her sister gets tired of her couch surfing, when reality claws back into the dream she tried to live in, I'll get another message. Can we talk? I was lost. You were always the stable one. I don't answer them. Not out of anger. Not even pity. Just distance. I've built something better in that silence. Peace. Simplicity. Control. I'm back in my old routine, but it's not the same. I cut down my overtime hours. I go on walks now. I cook more. I even started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I didn't want to carry her mess around in my pockets. My lawyer tells me the financial claim is progressing. Amanda hasn't contested most of it. She knows she'd lose. The receipts were too clean. The numbers too precise. Even if I never see a cent, I know what I protected. My dignity, my time, and my future. The apartment's quiet these days. It used to feel lonely. Now it feels earned. And Andrew? I heard through a friend that he's living alone in a rental across town. His kids don't visit. Katie took the house and the Tesla. He deactivated most of his socials. Guess, deserving better, turned out to be a short-term deal. Funny thing is, I don't hate him. Or Amanda. What I hate, really hate, is the version of me that would have taken her back. That version doesn't live here anymore. There's one memory I come back to, though, from that night in the kitchen, just after she opened the envelope, before the panic hit, before the words started to tumble out. It was a flicker, 1 second long, maybe less. A moment where she looked at me not like I was a husband, not like a paycheck, not like a backup plan, but like a stranger who knew her secret. I think that was the real end. Not the envelope, not the lawyer, not the USB. That look. The moment she realized she'd gambled everything on someone who wasn't going to fight for her, and lost. If she ever asks me why I never yelled, never threw things, never made a scene, I'll tell her this. You left me quietly. I just returned the favor. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.